chapter 23, verses 1 through 4. These are David's last words. The voice of his son of Jesse, the voice of the man God took to the top, whom the God of Jacob made king, and Israel's most popular singer. God's Spirit spoke through me, his words took shape on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke to me, Israel's rock mountain said, whoever governs fairly and well, who rules the fear of God, is like the first light at daybreak without a cloud in the sky, like green grass carpeting earth, glistening under fresh rain.
So the verses Kathy, let me turn this on. Is that better? The verses Kathy read this morning are captioned, the last words of David. But now these really aren't the last words. Turns out David is quite loquacious. In 1 Kings, we are told that David's final words to his son Solomon were, I'm about to go the way of all of the earth, but you, be strong. Show what you're made of. Do what God tells you. Follow the life map, absolutely. Keep an eye out for the signposts. In 1 Chronicles 28, the caption is David's valedictory address. And David speaks to the congregation saying, and now obey and study every last one of the commandments of God, so that you can make the most of living in this good land. David then again speaks to Solomon. Take charge, take heart, don't be anxious or get discouraged. God is with you in this. God won't walk off and leave you in the lurch. God's at your side. David's words are quite instructive to Solomon and to his congregation on how to live without him. I found encouragement in all of them, and especially in his statement, so that you can make the most out of living. These words are earnest and sincere, because with them, David instructs his son and his congregation that their goal is not simply to live, but to live life fully. As I began to prepare this sermon, a story from the LA Times came across my newsfeed. It was about Tamara Ferguson, a 42-year-old woman and nurse, mother of 4, and she was trapped inside the fire in Paradise, California. The hospital where she was working was told to evacuate, but she didn't leave because there were still 70 patients that needed to be evacuated. When she did finally leave, she was in an ambulance driving out of town. Flames flew across the street, and the ambulance in front of them caught fire. They were trapped. They couldn't go any further. They pulled into a garage to seek refuge, and she thought to herself, this is how I die. She checked on the patients, and then she phoned her children. She told them, I'm trapped in the fire. It's all around me. I want you to know I love you. Take care of your brothers and sisters, and make sure they know how much I love them. But at that moment, a fire official showed up and eventually led them out of the fire. Tamara and the others arrived at a hospital, and her children were there to greet her, and she embraced them all. And she thought to herself, this is how I live. Once again, realizing what is important in life, she speaks words about living. Now, not everybody has the opportunity to have a farewell discourse. I'm sorry. So it's important to live a life in such a way that others will simply know what the conversation would be. When I first read the lectionary text with David's final words, I couldn't help but think of my mom. She went to the hospital for gallstones and was moved into ICU. When we asked why, the hospital told us she's very sick. We didn't realize that meant because we didn't realize what that meant because on that morning, she was joking with the nurses about the TV in the room and how it needed to work because she wanted to watch her beloved Broncos beat the Raiders the next day. But as the day progressed, the doctor advised us that Mom's breathing was getting labored, and we could see that, and she needed a breathing tube. We agreed to the breathing tube, thinking that it would help her recover. We all left the room, and the doctor put the breathing tube in. And he came out of the room, and it was at that moment that he told us that my mom had about 4 hours to live. And we needed to say our goodbyes. We were shocked. How does one say goodbye in 4 hours? But we learned a lesson that day. When death encroaches, there is much to say. But when you only have a moment, you say the truth. So we told my mom the truth, how much we loved her, what a wonderful person she was, and to go in peace. My mom, however, was unable to speak to us because of the breathing tube. If we had known your mom is very sick, meant your mom is going to die, we could have made very different choices. Choices that may have allowed for a farewell conversation and not just a monologue. But since that time, as my family has spoken, the one thing we all lament is not hearing Mom's last words. And yet, we imagine what she would have said. That she lived a good life, and that she was ready to go. That she loved us. That she was proud of us. And that she wanted the best for each of us. She would want us to be kind and forgiving. And she would want us to go and live life. And the reason we know she would say those things is because she had been saying them all along. It was the way she lived her life. She lived her life. Jesus, too, had a farewell conversation with his disciples. It's like a wonderful, beautiful deathbed conversation with great wisdom that is imparted. And in these conversations, Jesus prepares his disciples to continue the work he started and prepares them to live without him. It went like this. After sharing a meal with them, Jesus washed their feet. And then he gave the disciples a new commandment, to love one another. Jesus told the disciples, "Don't let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe in me, and listen to the Holy Spirit." Jesus then gave his disciples his peace and told them, "Do not be afraid." And then once again he told them, "Love one another. Love one another." Jesus then told his disciples, "I want you to know that even though you weep, your pain will turn into joy." And when his farewell discourse was over, he did one final act. Jesus prayed for the disciples. conversations are sacred and holy moments in life. They are sad, but they are also life-affirming and life-giving. There is also profound depth in their simplicity, because when you're dying, there's no time for wasted words. The words you speak must have impact. They are important and heartfelt. As a matter of fact, in his farewell discussion, Jesus did not use parables, which the disciples did not understand anyway. He made the words simple. He spoke plainly to the disciples. His words, just like David's and just like Tamara's, were uncomplicated and easy to follow. All three of these conversations share three commonalities. Besides being life-giving and life-affirming, they share love, take care, and live life. Love. Love each other and remember how much I loved you. Take care. Do not be troubled. Do not be anxious. Be strong. Live life. Take charge. Show what you're made of. Follow the life map. Serve one another. John Pavlovitz, in his book Hope and Other Superpowers, puts it this way. It means we can unapologetically give voice to concealed dreams we've been carrying around in silence. It means we can walk boldly into the day, believing we have something to give the world that it needs and that no one else is capable of giving. I really like that, so I'm going to read it again. We have something to give the world that it needs, and no one else is capable of giving. What is that for you? While these conversations are both difficult to speak and to hear, they are words that we cherish, words that we tuck into our hearts and pull them out when we need encouragement. They shed new light on our dingy world by allowing us to see ourselves and our world differently. When we can see ourselves through the eyes of our loved ones, our self-awareness can change. When I listen to Jesus' words, which are similar to David's, and the words I imagine my mom would have said, they warm my heart. And not only that, they give me motivation. Motivation to continue Jesus' work, to be a servant, to love, to find joy, and to live life fully. These conversations are transformative. Now, I know that some of you may have had these transformative conversations as well, or you will have them in the future. I'd like you to think either about the final conversation you have had, or you wish you had had, or the final conversation you will have. And if you are willing to share those words and how they will transform your life.
So, when 20 years ago, my dad was passing away, he was in the hospital, and I had the opportunity to have a conversation with him that was transformative. He shared with me his one great regret that he had was that he hadn't done more for the Native Americans that lived next door to us, and that has impacted some of us. He also encouraged me to follow what I had wanted to do for a long time, and that's to become a counselor. He was a natural counselor. He had people see and, you know, wouldn't really give advice but help them discover their own means to a resolution. And it was at that point in time that I realized that I could do that. And so I'm very grateful to that conversation and the opportunity to have it.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
You're welcome.
A few days before my best friend Erin passed away, she passed away on December 30th, and she was hospitalized almost every year at Christmas time because she had chronic illness. And the Christmas before she died, she was able to be home. And every year at Christmas, I remember her calling me on Christmas Day and saying that she was crying happy tears at her Christmas Eve service because she got to be home. And we didn't expect her to pass away a few days later, and we didn't get the chance to hear her say goodbye to us, but that's those words I hear every Christmas, and it makes the season really special to me.
Thank you for sharing.
Alzheimer's, and my second parent, when my parents divorced, I was about 3 years old, and my grandmother came to live with us. She was only going to stay until the grandkids were raised, because you know, our parents couldn't manage to think their way out of a brown paper bag. But needless to say, she stayed a little longer. It was interesting that you spoke about the person dying not being able to respond in conversation, because she lost consciousness and never regained it. And I watched my aunts and uncles and my mother talk to their mom. And the one thing that they desired most, I think, was a response. Was just some acknowledgement that she heard them. My Aunt Pat is her oldest, and she has 6 children. And my Aunt Pat this month was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the one thing that I think touched me most about your sermon was just that need, that ability, taking that opportunity to have the conversation while it can still be had. Because even if they're physically here, they may not be capable of those goodbyes. And I think that response from them is what is most valuable.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm a nurse of over 30 years, and I've been in many different venues, and last few years with hospice. And I just want, and I'm sure other people here are probably in similar situations with nurses or doctors or whatever, but I've had the privilege of being at the bedside of many, many people who have passed away over that period of time. And I want people here to know I've never in my life seen anybody leave this planet that wasn't 100% at peace. Whether they found that peace 2 weeks prior to their passing, or it was the last 30 seconds, or the day of. There's no person on this world that has ever left without being 100% at peace. And I mean that from my heart. I wouldn't share it if I didn't. So whether people could be verbal or not, I really believe in my heart, I've seen it, that they left this world with love. And I hope that you all feel that as much as I've experienced it, because it's a privilege to be there when that happens. But for those that are left behind that don't know that aren't able to see the symptoms or the signs or whatever, it's there. And so I hope that you can get some peace from that thought.
holy and sacred conversations. Thank you for sharing.